terms of all these big occasions that you've had to rise to, there must be a support system behind you to, I suppose, even help you structure that mindset. Outside of the coaches and your teammates, etc., what about your family? How invested are they? Were they always into GAA? Where did this grow come from, I suppose?
Yeah, my family will be my biggest supporters and my biggest motivators. I know that's my first memory of GAA was going to the hill with my dad, and it's something that they'd be at every single one of my games, whether it's Raheny game, whether it's a Dublin game, and there's some games that are behind closed doors and no one's allowed to see, and I nearly have to tell my parents, no, you can't come to this one, you can't come to that one. So they'd be there at all of them, and they'd be by my side through all the highs and equally all the lows, and if I had a setback, like I wasn't selected for a team or something, they'd be the one that pushes me on, and my girlfriend as well, she's a great credit to her. She pushes me on and is there for the lows too. So yeah, it is very important to have that support system behind, as you said, the managers or your teammates, and I'm just lucky that I have such an amazing family and a girlfriend behind me.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. And you gave the girlfriend the shout out. Good man.
Yeah.
Brian, for you, was there, any particular player or coach or figure in your life that kind of helped guide you to where you are now and get to this point?
From a club setup, I had one manager right from when I was 5 when I joined Raheny. Vinny Byrne is his name. He brought me all the way up. He brought me from Ogre, as we call it, so under 5s up to minor. Then he was in with my senior manager, 21's manager actually, and then went into senior. So he's been there right from day one with me, and it's amazing that when you get your medals, as Aidan say, they are the memories that last forever. And he's always there. He'd be the first one to text me after, just say well done, and I always say that's down to you, this one's for you, or something like that, just to make sure he knows how important he has been in my career.
So Aidan, what from your perspective, what's the support system like there?
Yeah, I think it's the same as Brian. The highs are great when you celebrate with your family and when you win an All-Ireland or when you win something to your club, it's huge. But I think the most important sport is that, I found out myself that when you're not picked or you're not chosen for a game, and I suppose when you're playing in a team and you're involved in something, you always want to play. And I know it sounds very selfish, but I think for every GA player, you always want to be on that team. You don't want to be sitting on the bench, and I think it's important that players are like that as well. So for me, I think I remember the first time I was dropped, I think it was 2009, and it was like a shock to the system. I kind of knew it was coming, and going home after, and my parents were at home, and your mindset starts to change because you've had so many good years, and next all of a sudden you're not starting, and you're trying to tell them why you're not starting, and they were just a massive support. They never said anything. They left me alone and kind of to tease it out myself. Unless you have the support of a family like that, then it's not going to work out for you. In November 2010, I came back then, and I walked away from it for 3 months. I suppose for something that gave me, I suppose, how would I put it, that something you played all your life and it's part of your career and part of your family, and then all of a sudden you're saying, look, I'm not enjoying it. And I just walked away from it, and I walked away from it for 3 months, and I think it was the best thing I've ever done, because I actually came back, and for me, I suppose back then I didn't use sports psychologists or anything like that, and I didn't have someone to tease it out for me. And then when I came back from it, I just enjoyed it more, and I didn't take it for granted, and I got back on the team that time, and it didn't matter as much whether I was starting or coming on. It was all about being part of the team and playing that part. And I learned that myself, and that, you're on something that's very important and that a lot of people don't, I suppose, get to do. And I needed, I suppose, that 3 months away from it. And for me, it was tough because, you'll talk about GAA and a sport that gives you an identity, and all of a sudden you walk away from it, and without thinking about yourself, you're thinking about your family and all the good days they get from it, and all of a sudden you've walked away from it. And you've obviously, the media is a big thing then, where they're talking about, oh, look, he's gone and he's retired and we won't see him again, and when you go home and you see your parents, it breaks their heart, and that's that's the thing, like that, you know, as I said, they get so much enjoyment out of it, and they're obviously proud of the person that's representing them week in, week out, and you just take that away.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And even to kind of to be brave enough to do that, like, because it is very difficult when you're so immersed in something, and you know, you've dedicated so much time to put the boots up for a few months to get yourself into a position that you could enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, it is, while it feels like, I'm sure, a full-time job sometimes, it is your hobby, and it's important that you're enjoying it as much as the people who are supporting you are too. Was there any then, I know coming back you mentioned, was there a really positive thing for you, and you'd, you know, years of an enjoyable career there after your break? Is there any kind of part of your journey or as a footballer or your career that really stood out as in a really positive light for you, or was probably like your high?
Yeah, probably 2014, I think, after winning the All-Ireland. I gave my boots after Youngland. It was actually it was a strange thing to, I suppose, explain, in that we'd won the All-Ireland and we were walking around the pitch, and Brian know plenty about this the last couple of years, where you do just a trip around the pitch, and I think it's very important as well that as a group that you remain the pitch and you take in the whole atmosphere of it, because it's gone with a blink of an eye. On the following day, then you're celebrating, or else you're hiding one or two. But for me that day, we were walking around the pitch, and this young guy caught my eye, and I walked past him, and I came back and I just took off my boots and gave it to him, and it just snowballed from that. And someone had videoed it, and I think his aunt sent me a message 2 days later and said that the young guy had Angelman syndrome, and he was in a place in Killarney called Home for Home, which is a respite for the family. And they contacted me, I think 2 weeks later, so I brought Sam Maguire down there, and I brought him gear and stuff. And maybe 2 or 3 weeks later on, after they rang me and I spoke about, you know, the boots and could we auction them for charity, because I think at the time they were in dire straits for money and stuff. And to make a long story short, the boots went to England and they were sold for 26,000 sterling.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well done.
It was just an amazing story, kind of, in the way it happened. But just tell you about the generosity of people, and it went over to a GAA function as well, like, so, you know, it was just massive. Yeah.
Brian, if we bring it back to you, Aidan had touched on giving those boosts to that little boy, and I suppose the knock-on effect that had. When you look at some of your teammates, is there anything they've done that you've thought, you know what, I'd love to be getting involved in something like that?
Yeah, when you look at some of the lads and the work they've done, like Philly, Bernard Brogan, Dean Rock, these lads, they're just huge ambassadors both on the field and off the field, and the work that they put in to give back to people outside of just being able to spectate them is huge. And I know Brian Fenton and Raheny, myself and Brian, and a few others, Jack, ran the Go the Distance for St. Francis Hospice, who's literally just up the road. So that would be the local hospice for myself and Brian. It's brilliant, and whatever the players can do, I know from my own experience in the Dublin setup that we do have a huge will and desire to give back to the community. And whether that is going in after the All-Ireland final with the Sam Maguire into those hospitals, that's my favourite occasion of the year. When you get there and you see smiles on the kids' faces, that is something that will stay with you and you'll bring to the grave, and how much they mean. It only takes a second to take a photo with them or go in and have a little chat, and it means it was something that will last in their minds forever. So that's one of the main highlights, and I know all the lads love to do it, and I know there's only a few of us that can actually get the opportunity to go. So that's a huge boost for them and for us, and it joins us on even for the next year to make sure we get that Sam Maguire and have the opportunity to go into those kids.
The two of you are making us emotional.
I know. And I suppose, how important was nutrition in terms of getting the most out of your career?
Yeah, it's huge. As I said, when I started off in 2004, it was, you finished training, you had a bite to eat, I think it was maybe a steak and chips or something, and jumped into a car and got back to college or got back to work. That was it. We knew no different. And then as the years went on, nutrition became more and more. And I can see why, like, even nowadays, I'd still kind of keep the same kind of diet, whether from breakfast to lunch. Your mindset, you know, your training, like if you talk about games, even Brian will probably tell you over the last couple of years we're talking winning All-Irelands, and those small margins or small percentages, and there's no better feeling getting an All-Ireland final knowing that you've done everything to T, whether it's nutrition, whether it's your game prep. But getting back to your point, nutrition is huge. Like you're talking your water, what you get into your body. I suppose you are what you take in on a daily basis. And, I find it myself even maybe after a game where you go out for a night after and, all of a sudden you're getting hit with, I suppose, something you never put into your body for maybe 6 or 9 months. And you wake up the following morning and you get that feeling and you say, geez, I don't want that again. And you get back into that nutrition side. And the feeling you have, like whether it's lack of sleep, and I know even now with the kids, some nights we mightn't sleep maybe 4 or 5 hours, but like when you have good nutrition, you're able to get up the following morning, your thinking is good. And I think a big thing is your mindset is in a very good place with the nutrition side of it as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Brian, I suppose on that note, did you notice a change from your own perspective in terms of nutrition and its role for your performance since joining the senior panel back in 2018?
Yeah, it was something that underage I probably didn't put too much emphasis on. I knew obviously we might get a nutritionist in once a year and you ask a few questions and stuff like that. But the difference from going up from juvenile level and from 21s up into senior, it's massive because you're competing against not only the other counties, but you're competing against your teammates as well. And when you go to training, if you're sluggish, if you're not, just say you didn't eat the substantial foods in the morning, you missed out on one meal during the day, you were snacking on the wrong stuff throughout the day, you really notice it. And when you're competing with everybody else, they're the small margins and marginal gains that you need to make sure are in your favour. So if you're not, you can even, if you're missing a meal or if you're not hydrated going to training, you can easily trace that back and see that's why I didn't perform to my best ability. And it all comes down to diet. If you're not on point with your diet, you're just going to fall down and gradually see a big decline in your performance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it is great to see now that, the importance is starting to, integrate into the younger teams now. I've definitely noticed like athletes now from a younger age are being told of its importance, which is hopefully will just stand to the game. And as Aidan said, like the standards are continuing to go up and up. So hopefully that can contribute to that too.
I have 2 questions here. So in terms of, I suppose, what, if there's a certain food product, supplement product, food product, whatever it is, that you take before a match, that's like a necessity, like it's almost part of your prep. What is it? And Aidan, we might start with you, or it could be before you go into, an intense training session, whatever it is. What's your must-have?
Yeah, so like I think especially the last 7 or 8 years, even when I was still playing at the county, we had our pre-fuel set up for us. It was important, like, everyone got into that kind of routine, or as Brian said there, like if you don't get into that habit of taking your pre-fuels or taking your recovery after training, then even your mindset alone kind of tells you, geez, am I being left behind here? So I even know it now, even with the fitness side of it, or even when I'm doing my workouts, we'll say at home there, you're taking your pre-fuel 45 minutes, an hour before a game, you have your energy gels. And I know that because I think the way the game has evolved over the years, in that you might go in at half time and you're playing an inter-county game and someone says to you, well, the manager will say to you, right, you're going to be left on for 10 more minutes there. And you're saying, right, I'll take my gel here now, I get the max out of me. And then you're being hooked to the line now. You're never happy being pulled off, like, but, that's what the team game is about now. And then when you finish, you have your recovery side of it as well. And nutrition is huge now. And I've been involved with a lot of the underage teams down here in Kerry in the last year or two. And it's a fierce learning curve as well. And it's, for them, it's all about learning. And we'll say, take away the sports side alone. It's for their own lives as well. Like if you can get them into that habit of eating healthy and get them into the habit of taking your supplements before you train and your recovery for after training as well, then it's a huge bonus for them as well. Like, and I think parents are really buying into it as well, in that they know what's good for them. And then when they're getting advice from professionals as well, like, it's a huge thing.
Definitely. And I can even say from my own experience, as I mentioned, myself and Kate had played basketball together for a number of years. I played a number of different sports, and I totally didn't understand the sports nutrition world until I worked in it. And I was kicking myself learning about it. So I suppose that brings me over to yourself then, Brian. And you've kind of mentioned that obviously your understanding has evolved massively since going underage to senior. So what's a must-have pre or post-match for you?
I wouldn't do anything significant before a game. I like to tend to keep it simple, just making sure in the morning I wake up, have my set breakfast, then lunch, and pre-game we'd have our pre-game meal, obviously. But after, the most important thing would be the Kinetica shakes. It's just something that I've got into me, that after every session I'd have a shake, a protein shake, because I see if I don't have one, then the next day I feel the effects. Even though it's something so small, I feel the effects, and I know once I have that, it's just in my head that I'm not going to be tired the next morning. I'm going to be well filled up after a tough session. So that's something that it's a must for me. Every time I'm in the dressing room, they're just there, and I'll make sure to grab one. I know all the lads are the same. It's just something that we've got into our heads now, that just to make sure that we're fully rested and prepared then.
And what about, sorry, you mentioned as well your breakfast or whatever, and I know obviously Daniel Davey works with you guys very closely. Do you use like his meal plans, or from when we had our last session, we were speaking to Leona and Lisa McGuire, the two golfers, and I was absolutely amazed at, and obviously totally different sport and very different view in terms of nutrition, but I was shocked at what Leona brings around in her golf bag and the amount of food she has, and it just blew my mind. So in terms of like, I suppose your own preparation, and you mentioned that you have your same breakfast or whatever, what is it? Like, is it porridge? Is it eggs?
Yes. So Daniel, we have the luxury of working with Daniel Davey, and his knowledge and all that he's brought to the table. He has it drilled into me about the importance of making sure you're getting the most out of all your meals, and following his Davey nutrition and all that I can. I have the ability to be able to get that knowledge from him. But in the morning, mostly on game days, I'd have a big bowl of porridge with my strawberries and blueberries, and then a smoothie with brown bread and eggs. So that's just something that
is that just to say breakfast?
Yeah. It's just in my head then. When I have that breakfast, then they know, my body knows that it's going to be put to the test then. And then afterwards, we also had the luxury of working with a gourmet food parlour. So they have the best food available for us, and after training, we have the luxury of being able to eat such good food after. So that's a huge positive for us. And then we don't have to really, after training, we know we're getting substantial food, we're getting well looked after. So that's a big bonus.
That's brilliant. I didn't realise they did that for you guys after training as well. That's fab. So you don't have to think. Look at you. And you've got the time to think now as well.
Here.
Yeah.
Keep asking more. I'm writing down here.
Yeah.